Hi there, this is Gary Jenkins. I'm speaking to you today in regards to due diligence. As you know, I was recently made redundant and I have been looking for something new to do. It's been a challenging time period for myself, and due diligence takes a lot of effort, intensive effort, study, thinking, asking questions. As you are aware, if you watched the previous videos, I've been advised by a really high-level headhunter that at my age, at my level of experience, I'm a dinosaur. Nobody wants to hire me. Nobody will hire me, most likely. They'll want younger kids, new college kids, people that have far less life experience, people who could be more easily manipulated and controlled is the unspoken word. And that's what I think is really true, is that companies don't really want somebody that will question the ethics or the efficacy of a procedure. One of the things I'm sure people can resonate with me is that oftentimes people who are managing you are far more incompetent than the people they're managing. And that's just the nature of the beast. They wrote about this back in the 80s. So it's been around for a long time, people, and it's no big secret. So that's one option that's pretty much I've accepted as not available to me. The second thing that I've looked at is, well, if I can't go work for a company, do I start my own business? Now, the traditional business, brick and mortar is what I'm going to call it. You get a shop, you get a location, you bring in phone lines, you advertise, you provide a good and a service, and you hope for the best. Usually it takes, according to government statistics, about 5 years to get into the profitability range of that business. Before then, you're basically in debt, working your tail off, trying to stay above the foreclosure of the banks. Sadly, 80% of all new startup businesses shut down within that 5-year period. So you really only have perhaps a 20% chance. And at the end of that 5 years, of that 20%, only 5% of them are really viable businesses. So I don't know whether it's that they didn't have a good service, they didn't have a good business model, they didn't have a structure. That is something I just don't know. Could be that they were offering something that was good 10 years ago, but it's no longer good. Could be that they were ahead of the curve. And it's a good and service that everybody should have wanted, but they won't take and they won't get until they get to 5 years down the road, maybe? Who knows? So I have to look for another alternative. We all know that the internet is exploding. I can remember back in 1976 when my professor in one of my university courses mentioned the fact that at one point in the near future, probably within 25 years, every home would have a computer in it. I didn't laugh out loud, but inside I kept laughing. All I could think of was the massive computers on these starships and Enterprise, etc. I just couldn't imagine a small desktop. And he even described a desktop computer, and I just like, yeah, right, not going to happen. Never! Well, I had one in 1984. I bought an Apple II. Maybe it was 86. Don't hold me on that one. But I had an Apple II. I owned a computer. It was in my house. I had a printer, I had a computer, I had the monitor. I had the floppy disk. Do you all remember those big 5 1/4 inch floppy disks? Yeah, crazy, huh? But the professor was right. And I remember in 1992 when I went over to a house of a friend of mine, and they actually had access to the internet on a dial-up. And people were sending emails back and forth and thought that that was the greatest form of communication on earth. Let that sink in. You know, look at where we are today. People have telephones that have more power than what was on the Apollo spacecraft landing on the moon. You just have so much access. You can get on apps and you can call people all around the world for free. Talk to them on the internet over these voice over internet protocols. The world has changed, and it is going to continue to change. I remember back in, it must have been about 1988, I was listening on the radio about this company called Amazon. They had over 1 million books in stock. You can put in your order and the books will be delivered to your door. I was driving down the road thinking, well, that's really good, but I'm not really in the market for books. I don't know where they think they're going to go. I mean, I can go over to Barnes & Noble. I could go over to this bookstore that I like going to, get a cup of coffee, walk around, get books. Look at how Amazon has exploded. And was it the books that made Amazon explode? No. It was the distribution. Getting the product and the service directly to the consumer, sometimes within the same day. Pots, pans, knives, phones. You can get on Amazon, you can search and shop, and it's making the brick and mortar stores in our communities vanish. They can't compete. The prices are low. The response times are quick. I can sit at home and I can get things. During this COVID-19 crisis, I ask you, how many of you called out to Uber Eats, to Deliveroo, Amazon, some other online service, and asked for a product to be delivered to your home? I don't think there's a person in the sound of my voice who didn't do it or knows somebody who didn't do it. The wave of the future is upon us. And so now I realize that I don't want to have that brick and mortar start my own business. That's not going to work. At my age, I would want to be selling it in the first year of its profitability after 5 years. And I don't want to invest in a baby just to sell it. I'd want to keep it. I'd want to keep growing it. But as you get older, and those of you who can resonate with me on this, you do seem to lose a bit of energy no matter how great your passion is. And I do want something that I can feel passionate about. So I'm going to continue looking, but it's probably going to be involving the internet. Thank you for listening. Bye.